This is part 2 of Capricorn Clark's testimony, and on the stand, she talked about how she would set up hotel rooms for Diddy. She said in the hotel rooms there would be cameras, baby oil, lube, and of course substances. She talked about Diddy's aliases at the hotel rooms and said his girlfriend's aliases would be Jackie Star and that Kim Porter would stay in these hotel rooms once a week. And she said she would also be in another hotel room watching TV, catching up on sleep, and ordering room service. When Diddy would be done with the hotel rooms, she would have to clean them up, and she said there would be so much baby oil that sometimes she would even see handprints. In 2008, she said Cassie would be at these hotel rooms about once a week. Asked if Diddy ever talked about Cassie to her, she said yes, and then detailed how one time it was her, Miss London, and Chef Jordan in a room with Diddy. Diddy called Cassie to come into the room. He asked her to do some things, he asked her to twirl, and then told her to leave. And tells the women, you bees wouldn't do that, and that's why you don't have a man. She responded saying, you're mother effing right. Talked about how Diddy would have her get substances for him, and one time he asked her to get snow, and she said, for who? And when the prosecutor asked, why did you ask that? She said, because my mother passed away from that, and I wasn't gonna do it. When Diddy told her that it wasn't for her, she went and got it from one of the security guys, and she said he also would get prescription substances in my name. They were in a toiletry bag that I would carry around, or security. She also talked about Diddy's cash and how one time he had 100,000 euros on the private jet with him that he was bringing back after doing club appearances in Europe. She said he would give it to security and then it would go into his bedroom personal safe. When she came back to work for Diddy, and this was after he had pushed her that one time in Miami, she said she was more so working for Cassie. Told her you wouldn't be working directly for me, but he had final approval on everything that Cassie did. He then talks about the fact that they all moved to LA because of Kim Porter, but Cassie stayed in New York. When she would come to LA, she would either stay in a hotel with Diddy or with her. Now we get into December of 2011 when Diddy found out about Kid Cudi. Capricorn Clark said that one day Cassie had come over and she had brought with her Kid Cudi. Said after finding out about him, one day Cassie had texted her saying that she wanted to go out in public in LA with him. She told her, delete this text, you're texting me on a phone that Diddy pays for. Realizing how dangerous the situation could be, she took Cassie to Best Buy to get her a burner phone in order for her to speak to Kid Cudi. Diddy eventually found out, and she said he came to her home banging on her door, and when she looked in the peephole, he was pacing back and forth, holding a weapon, and his pants had a rip from his knee up and his underwear was showing. He opened the door and he said, why didn't you tell me? Who is Scott? She responded saying, I don't know any Scott, and he tells her, we're going to go unalive him. She told him she didn't want to go. He responded saying, I don't give a F what you want, get dressed. He was then forced in the back of the Escalade and said Diddy sat next to her, which is unusual because he's usually in the front, but he sat next to her with a weapon in his lap, and his security guard, Ruben, was driving. He drove to Kid Cudi's house, which took about 15 to 20 minutes, and when they went inside, she said she called Cassie. Cassie picked up the phone. She said, Cassie, where the F are you? Puff is at Cudi's house with a pew-pew. He said Kid Cudi was with Cassie at the time, and you could hear him in the background yelling, he's in my house. After hanging up, she panicked and changed Cassie's name to Stormy so that Diddy wouldn't know she called Cassie. He came back to the car, he took her phone and called the last number she had dialed, and then flipped out on Cassie saying, what the F is this number? Short time after, Kid Cudi pulled up next to Diddy's Escalade, and then he accelerated off. Diddy's vehicle followed in pursuit, and she said it probably was about a minute, but it felt like forever. Security then took them to a nightclub, and Diddy had her call Cassie saying that he will not let Capricorn Clark go unless she's able to come get her. Once Capricorn Clark grabbed Cassie and brought her to Diddy, Diddy made it very clear to the both of them, you need to let Kid Cudi know not to tell the police it was him. And he told them, if you do not convince him, I will unalive you all. She did tell Kid Cudi, and she said to him, if you tell on him, he'll hurt all of us. And Cassie repeatedly asked her, do you really think he will? Said they then go back to Diddy's rental where he was waiting in a robe and his underwear, and that's when he started to beat on Cassie. Said he was kicking her over and over, and she did not fight back, and she was quietly crying to herself. Cassie was curled in a fetal position, and she and Ruben were about 5 feet away, and nobody did anything. She said Diddy then looked at her and said, if you jump in, I'll F you up too. She was then told to leave, and as she walked away from the house, she could still see Diddy kicking Cassie. That she immediately called Cassie's mom, and she tells her, he's beating the ish out of your daughter. I can't call the police, but you can. Cassie's mom then told her, I'll handle it, and then hung up the phone. Now remember, this is December of 2011, and she said from December of 2011 up until August of 2012, Diddy threatened her about 50 times, would call them the B word and said I should kill you and I should cut her face. Then eventually told her that she was not allowed to be friends with Cassie anymore and the only interaction they could have was work-related. He said after that, her relationship with Cassie completely changed. She didn't give us any information on who might have burned Kid Cudi's car, but she said that arson investigators reached out to her and she hung up on them because she just wanted it all to go away. Now she said in early 2012 she went to Harve Pierre and she told him that she was kidnapped, and his response was, "That's crazy, but it's going to be okay." By August of 2012 she was on vacation and still being sent work, and she told HR that Diddy was mad at her because she didn't tell him that Cassie had cheated. Terminated after being accused of improperly taking vacation, and said she lost her income, her benefits, her 401k, her house, and her car. In her own words, she said that Diddy told her I would never work again, that he would show me that all these people weren't my friends, that he would make me unalive myself. By the end of 2012, she did settle with Diddy for wrongful termination, but said it was hard for her to find work after. He was then asked, was there a discussion of you working for Mr. Combs again? And she said yes, as chief of staff. Asked when was the last time she spoke to Cassie, she said 2018. And then she was asked Kid Cudi and she said 2012. She just finished her cross-examination and I'll be back to let you know what happened with that.